All right, well, welcome back to Brighter Rays. We're in a study called An Outrageous Thing in Genesis 34. And we've been going through the story. Dinah she goes off into the city where she shouldn't have been off and by herself. She goes alone, which is really a signal to, that she's open for business. And she gets taken advantage of by a young man who was really the prince of the city. And he doesn't think anything wrong of it. The city doesn't think anything wrong of it. But Jacob and his sons think that this is a thing that's outrageous. This ought not to be done. This is evil. And according to God, it is. And so they're angry. It doesn't really say that Jacob is angry, but it does say that the sons of Jacob are angry. So at least the older ones who are there. I don't know how old Joseph is at this point. Still young. He's probably a boy at this point. But at least the older ones are like, man, this can't happen. This should not have happened. She can't be treated this way, and we're gonna take revenge. So that's where we're at in the story. Now, in the last 12 verses of the story that we looked at already, we find that, or the last 12 verses that we're going to look at today, we're going to find that none of the main players in the story really make it out of the story without sin. There really is no one that's good. We've had a couple stories like this already in the book of Genesis, where no one leaves the story unscathed. They're all doing something they shouldn't be doing. This is one of those stories again. First, let's look at Shechem and Hamor. Okay, Shechem is the most honored in all of his father's household, and from his own words and actions, is accustomed to getting what he wants. And so they use their status, they use their position in the city to convince the men of the city to be circumcised. Now, that is some persuasion, right? I mean, yow. Why am I getting circumcised? Oh, because you want to marry someone? Like what? But that's not what they lead on. That's not what they go with, They make the case that Jacob and his sons are at peace with them so far, And so they say, hey, these guys are at peace with us. They're cool, they're cool guys. We should be friends with them. They should, they say they should allow them to dwell in the land because there's enough room for everyone. They got lots of people out there, but there's plenty of room for everybody. The city should be welcoming them. So they kind of, they begin the schmoozing of the city men. And then they say, hey, we should intermarry with them. We should give them their, we should trade daughters and we can intermarry. We'll be good. This is awesome. But here comes the real selling point. This is what Hamor says. He says, will not their livestock, their property, and all their beasts be ours? Now, wait a minute. What's this about the love of a young woman? How did this become about possessing Jacob's wealth, really? How did we get here, guys? Not only wasn't, it bad enough that this marriage proposal has come about through the defilement of Dinah, but now it's like covetousness has set in. But these are really pagan men, I guess, so we should expect pagans to be acting like pagans. I mean, they're thinking, hey, Shechem can get a nice, beautiful wife, young woman, and hey, we can get all their stuff. This is going to be awesome. We should do this. Everyone should get circumcised because guess what? We're gonna get more wealthier. We're gonna be a wealthier city. So they convince all the men to do that, and so all the men in the city are convinced that they will all benefit from the marriage, and they all agree to be circumcised. Now I don't care how much I'm going to get. You don't have anesthetic, okay? You don't have antibiotics. That's not really something I'm looking forward to. Now, it doesn't say anything else besides that. So if they had to do anything else to convince them, it just says they went ahead and did it. So, assuming that was enough for them. So, now on the third day, when all the men are sore because they're all circumcised, Simeon and Levi take their swords and they storm the city, and they slaughter all the men, who are definitely at a great disadvantage due to the surgery they experienced 3 days prior. So they're all sore. They're basically all sitting ducks. And so the young men murdered all the men in the city. They just went through the city and slaughtered all the men. All the men are trying to recover from having, this surgery done. And they are not in fighting shape. They're not expecting this at all. So it's a surprise attack by 2 young men who are strong and able-bodied with swords, and they are not ready for fight. They are in no condition to stand up and fight. And so, I'm sure most of them weren't even able to get to their own swords. They don't know this battle's coming. They don't know the fight's coming. It's not like they're walking around with swords all the time, I'm sure. Maybe they are, maybe they aren't, I don't know. But, these men are all laid up trying to recover from, what happened. So they just go through, slaughter everyone, and then they leave. So, yeah. Now, the death of Shechem could be justified, really, because of what he did to Dinah, right? That is a capital offense. That should be something that he dies for. But the rest of the men in the city, that wasn't their fault. They might have been able to justify executing Shechem, but not the rest of the men in the city. They didn't do anything. Vengeance belongs to the Lord anyway. So what Simeon and Levi did was a vengeful slaughter. They did it in their own wrath, not really a justifiable wrath, that when they slaughtered all the men. Like I said, Shechem, yeah, he probably should have died for what he did. He defiled Dinah. That is a capital offense. But they shouldn't have gone and slaughtered everyone. But that's what they do. Now, after they leave the city, the other brothers come to the city, and they took all the animals. They go in there and they start plundering the city. They take all the animals out of the city, take them back to their home. And not only that, they took all the wealth. So they took all the gold, the silver, all the stuff. They take that and go back home. But that's not all. They take all the children that are left, and they take all their wives. What Shechem did was inexcusable. But Jacob's sons murdered an entire city, stole all their stuff, and then took their women and children. It doesn't say that they married these women. Maybe they just became servants, who knows? Or concubines. We don't know what happens to these women and children, but now they're in the household of Israel. So, yeah, it's like, what? You guys are so angry. You just did basically... You did something. What you did was worse than what Shechem did. But they don't care. So the Shechemites, might have wanted to gain the wealth of Jacob's family through intermarriage, but Jacob's sons gained wealth through murder. Whose sin is worse here? It's like, what? They just Hamor and Shechem just wanted, Jacob's stuff through marrying and stuff like that. But Jacob's sons are like, well, we'll just take all their stuff. And we'll take their wives and their daughters. And we'll just take it. Done. Wow. So they're obviously in the wrong. They did not do a good thing. The last recorded words of Jacob that we have in this, the last recorded words of Jacob speaking in the Bible were back when he was speaking to Esau, before he entered into the land of Canaan. Now, many years later, we finally have him speaking again. Why he did not speak up and stop all the atrocities that had occurred, why he didn't say anything to Hamor, why he let his sons deceive them into doing all this. He had to know what was going on. He knew that they shouldn't be taking circumcision. So, we don't know why he did that. We don't know the motivation. We don't know what Jacob was thinking. But again, he didn't say anything. He didn't do anything. All we have is the record of his inaction, which is pretty telling. And Moses didn't record anything that he says. And God didn't have him say, hey, Jacob was trying to fight with his brother or with his sons and try to get him to stop doing this thing. It doesn't say that. So all we have is Jacob's passivity here. Jacob does not reply to Hamor on the marriage contract. His sons do, it says. When they say everyone in the city must be circumcised, Jacob does not correct them for their misuse of the covenant sign. In the end, he doesn't rebuke them for their sin, but only what it means for himself. He doesn't say, what you've done is completely evil. You should never have done that. You're going to have to repent of your sin. You need to go and sacrifice to the Lord our God, and hopefully he accepts you. No, in the two sentences he uses me 4 times, my twice, and I twice. In 2 sentences. It's all about me, I, me, my. That's all he says. It's clear here, Jacob's thoughts are centered on himself. He is now afraid that since his sons just went and wiped out an entire city, it's crazy just to say that, but they went in and wiped out the whole city. He's afraid now that the people around that city will find out, obviously, since there's a missing city now. And he was afraid that they would then, seek to destroy. They don't want that to happen, so they're going to seek out Jacob and his household and destroy it and attack them. They're going to try to prevent the same thing from happening to them. This is a valid fear, right? If God had not promised to protect Jacob and that his household would be like the dust of the earth, he would be in trouble. But God has promised, and so he doesn't have to worry about that. God has secured Jacob. But man, Jacob, come on, man. You got to say something here. But he doesn't say anything. And so when he does speak, it's just about, hey, man, I'm in trouble now because of what you've done. Thanks. Thanks a lot, guys. Thanks, boys. Now I'm in big trouble. Thanks for getting me in trouble. That's basically what he says. That's what it boils down to. You got me in trouble. Now all these people around us are going to come after us. Now what am I going to do? I couldn't fend off Esau. I don't have enough fighting men to stave off other cities and other attacks from other people. What's wrong with you? Now I'm worried about this. So that's his response. Now let's take a look at the son's response at the very end here. In the last verse of the chapter and the end of this story, Jacob's sons say, should he treat our sister like a prostitute? Obviously, no. No, that was wrong. What he did was wrong. But does that justify the destruction of an entire city? I mean, come on, guys. Yeah, they're justifying, putting the whole family in danger. They're justifying slaughter of an entire city. They're justifying the plunder and capture of women and children because of what Shechem did. Now, dude, what he did was wrong. But come on, really? But because Jacob kept his peace, they're implying that Jacob was okay. Are they saying, because you didn't say anything, we had to do something? They're almost as if implying that Jacob was okay with what Shechem did to Dinah. It often happens that when people run to one extreme, that they will accuse those that kind of stay in the middle of the opposite extreme, right? So, people run to this extreme in fear or anger or wrath, and then they look back at people that are kind of hanging in the middle, and they're like, you are going against me. You are evil. Like, whoa. You're the one who went off on the extreme tangent. We're just trying to do what we've always done. I'm just trying to, for Jacob, even though he should have said something, he should have spoke up, he should have done something, he was staying in the middle. He was trying to keep peace. He was trying to, work things out differently, trying to protect his whole family. But his sons went off to the extreme. Why are you bringing this back onto him? Well, should he have treated her that way? Like, why are you asking your dad that? Of course he doesn't think that. But they're implying, that, hey, you approve of this, what he did? Well, I don't approve of that, but I don't approve of what you did either. So that's where you kind of get lumped in with, and if you're playing the middle of the road, those people who are in the extremes kind of lump you in with everyone. It's like, well, then you're opposed against me. You're the evil one. Like, whoa, wait a minute. I didn't go against you. I'm not going against you now. I'm just saying, Now you got me in trouble because of what you did. I'm not saying I'm going to attack you and kill you like you did. So, in the eyes of Jacob's sons, he really approved of what happened to Dinah, and that's what they were kind of implying with this sentence. We see the sentiment occurring in society today, right? Side with our extreme ideas, the world says, or you are a white supremacist. It's like, what? How do we get there? Can't I not side with you and not be, desiring the death of people? Is that not possible anymore today? It's the same exact thing. It's like, it's just insanity. If you are a Christian wanting to go to church, and now you got the liberal church are like, well, you're evil. You hate God. You hate people. You must not love God. Like, well, wait a minute. I'm just saying that I want to keep going to church. I just want to worship God with God's people. Is that so bad? Is that evil? I just want to follow what the Bible says. Is that wrong? So you get the whole, it's insane. You get things like, agree with our outlandish lifestyle choices, or you approve of bombing gay bars. It's like, what? No, I don't, or lynching gay people. It's like, what? No, just because I don't approve of your lifestyle doesn't mean I want all people to die. Like, why do you have, since you've gone to the extreme, doesn't mean that I've gone to the opposite extreme. I'm in the middle where I've always been, where society's pretty much resided for a while, at least, in our country. But the middle ground disappears when this happens. To them it becomes no middle ground. So that's the end of the story. It's a crazy story, and all these people are just wacky, man. But we'll come back next time, and we'll kind of wrap everything up, kind of see what kind of lessons we can get out of this. We kind of talked about a few of them already, but we'll try to think about this a little bit more. So come back next time.